Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Deep Talk for the Soul, a podcast by the Center for Gender Studies and Ayla Indonesia. Today, I accompanied by Sister Paula Colonello, PhD, and Sister Aresa. Welcome, sisters, in our podcast. Alhamdulillah. As you know, that Sister Aresa is from Ayla Indonesia. She will host this session with me. And for anyone who hasn't know about Sister Paula, I will introduce her briefly. Sister Paula is an anthropologist and also ethnographer in the field of education. She carried out ethnographic research in Islamic areas such as in Iran, Unguja, Balukistan, and also Indonesia, Jawa Timur, or East Java, and also Uzbekistan, focusing on the issue of transmission of knowledge in Islamic education and culture. This is very interesting because my PhD also in Islamic education. Yeah, we will maybe we will discuss its separate session, yeah, about the transmission of knowledge. And Sister Paula also work on the sensitive concept of fitrah, yeah, and jihad, and presented the spiritual perspective of tasawuf. Alhamdulillah, Sister Arisa probably want to add something about Sister Paula.
Yes, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Greetings to everyone, especially to our guest, Sister Paula. Thank you for being here. And Sister Paula currently is residing in Milan, right, Italy. And actually, this podcast we have planned for a few months, but it was delayed due to several reasons, due to COVID being one of them. So we are thankful that you are here now, healthy and able to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, today topics is about the concept of beauty in the West and also its connection to feminism. Sister Paula, I want to discuss about what do you think is the concept of beauty in the West? Can you explain to us?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I thank you very much for your kind invitation. I hope my words could be useful to you and to the listeners to understand Western position. Well, the answer to your question requires a premise. Since as anthropologist, I work with Islamic culture and education, and most of our public is Muslim, I cannot exempt myself from considering that the habit of summarizing the term West, much of what is not Islam, leads to an improper generalization. What you usually call the West is a puzzle of different cultures and worldviews. For example, the Spaniards, for example, have a cultural heritage, a language, and a way of thinking, acting, and organizing their social life that differs considerably from that of the Norwegians or the Poles. You would be pleasantly surprised by the comparison between the talkativeness and proxemics of the Italians and the extreme moderation of the Finns.
Yes.
And to be more precise, even talking about Italians and Spaniards, it's a generalization that leads to unrealistic considerations. There are enormous differences between regional cultural traits within the same country. Furthermore, it's worth remembering that Italian taste regarding beauty, both in architectural and clothing terms, has been influenced by the contagion among Oriental and Peninsular cultures. Italy has assimilated lots of traits from the Arabic Islamic world, either due to the conquest of the southern region of Sicily about 2 centuries after the Hijra, or to the role long held by Venice as a hub for the various routes of the Silk Road. That is why talking about the West as a separated and uniform identity is unwary.
Yes.
Different cultural legacies support perspectives that do not always coincide. Unrealistic is also the very act of comparing Islam and the West as if they were opposing forces which have never merged. During its spread, Islam has encountered many cultures and traditions. That means, again, different worldviews. Likewise, neither the West nor Islam can be considered monolithic blocks. Human forms of thought change accordingly to ethical, historical, geographical conditions, and they change over time, also through meeting and assimilation. In summary, there are many expressions of the West, as there are many expressions of Islam, as Clifford Geertz taught us in the early 70s, confronting the cases of Morocco and Indonesia. Islam Observed is the title of a book of this anthropologist that you might find very interesting in case. Nevertheless, during this discussion, I will use the terms West and Islam to simplify the comprehension, never forgetting that a constant dialogue between traditions is as fascinating as needful, as well as harbinger of learning.
Yes.
Now,
True.
returning to the topic of discussion, that is beauty, I would like to explore a perspective of the concept of beauty in the Western tradition that, in my opinion, cannot be overlooked. I will start reminding that both in the Islamic and in the Western world, the sense of beauty is usually aroused by the pleasant impressions that are generated by the contemplation of harmonious images.
Yes.
The pleasantness of human traits, the mastery of the artifices of art, as well as poetic compositions, musical performances, the spectacularity of natural phenomena, and even the overlap of good and beautiful in the intrinsic qualities of moral rectitude and spiritual elevation are all elements who meet these concepts both in the Islamic tradition and in the Western one. So referring specifically to physicality, that is probably what interests you most, differently from what Muslim could be tempted to believe. In the West, the concept of beauty is not reduced to the cult of the body in terms of exteriority, appearance, hedonism, vanity, vulgarity, or exhibitionism. Hedonism and even pornography are not exclusively Western phenomena. The issue of the vanity promoted by applications such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc.
Media, yeah, sister.
Yeah, where people are invited to upload photographs with their faces and their body is an eventuality that concerns the whole world. The idea of beauty that is rooted in a Western thought has very little to do with the mass media excesses and the excessive eroticization of the feminine. Actually, it differs from the recent fashion of bikinis, fake breasts, cosmetic surgery, anorexic body, skimpy clothes, and the obsessive search for sex appeal. It's just fashion, marketing, business.
Yeah, because of globalization also, yeah, it caused the spread of the that kind of concept of beauty in other region. It easily adapt in another region because of you see TikTok and also Facebook and
Yes.
also mass media.
Yes, it's a phenomenon that involves all the world at the moment. And this kind of fashion should not be confused with Western sensibility about beauty. We cannot avoid considering that Western culture inherited the idea of beauty from a conceptualization inspired by the culture of ancient Greece, where dichotomies as order and disorder were present as much as they have always been present in Islamic culture. In the philosophical tradition of classic Greece, to which Europeans are deeply indebted, beautiful is what reflects an internal order in an external ordered form. Beauty is harmony, proportionate shape, and even mathematical measurement. In the 19th century, the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche summarized this predisposition in the expression Apollonian spirit and observed how, in a classical world, to act as counterpoint to the god of beauty and sunlight called Apollo, a second entity existed, Dionysus, the god of wine, intoxication, and mystical ecstasy, who represented the antithetical principle of chaos and shapelessness. The Dionysian spirit embodied the vital and creative force, the becoming, the unfinished, the indefinite, the clash, the restlessness, the tragic. And his energy brought together components of conflict and tension. He was connected to the abyss and to laceration. And through the comparison of these two forces, Nietzsche wanted to highlight how human experience seemed to be pervaded by opposed impulses. In the world of classic arts in search of beauty, the Apollonian spirit was expressed in the idea of completeness, harmony, rationality, order, and organization. You could observe these cultural works that have this plasticity and harmony in features and forms. The perfect harmonious forms of the athlete were represented in marble, where the proportion and strength of human body was valorized. From classical Greek to Roman era until the Renaissance artistic awakening, when Western sculptural and pictorial arts reached their performative peaks, the artists tried to represent beauty in its most explanatory form. The image represented in the stone or in a fresco was a bearer of meaning. It gathered within itself the meaning of a discourse which, if done in words, could not have been preserved intact. So the image aimed to capture a moment in time, to make it persist, to sublimate it. In the representation of bodies, beauty took the forms of authority as well as those of virility or a soft, welcoming, virginal feminine. and beauty was recognizable in the representation of a vital impulse, sometimes expressed in a fight scene. In that sense, epic poetry was in some way embedded in the hardness of the stone. And in Western tradition, the search for beauty through figurative arts has accompanied the representation of the most significant facets of human life. Art, whether if sculptural, pictorial, literary, or poetic, took responsibility for saving the moment and the image from dissipation, degenerative chaos, and oblivion, or, in other words, from the consequences of the exasperation of the destructive impulse of Dionysian spirit. So we observe here another duality, that of memory and oblivion. And if we pay attention, memory and oblivion, as light and shadow, good and evil, order and chaos, are all dichotomies which are strongly representative of a universe that hosts all monotheisms, especially Islam. Following the aforementioned dichotomous logic, I could suggest that nowadays the Islamic world is probably alarmed by the West due to the perception of its strong Dionysian impulse. In the eyes of Islam, the West seems to refuse to adhere to the norms and shows to be changeable, transgressive, overbearing, disobedient, and messy. And what I'm observing in my city is that is Milan, is a search for beauty in disorder, tearing, and provocation. However, I also witnessed how the reviled Western fashion is widely welcome on the street of Islamic Indonesia. In Java, as in Milan, I observed the vanity of wearing asymmetrically cut clothes, torn jeans, hair that spray arranged in careful disarray. And I look at a huge poster displayed on the high buildings of Jakarta, advertising maybe a makeup line. And I observed that they portray Asian women whose eyes and cheekbones present shapes that seem to be much more Caucasian than Oriental. Do you agree?
Yeah, because it is like their ideal, yeah, the face like Caucasian or West. So they want to have, even though probably now it is changed, yeah, our yeah, like Korean because the Korean wave they want to looks like Korean idol, yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that should make us think about the complexity of exchanges of tastes and ideas and intention of mimesis.
Yeah, but do you think that because yeah, I quote some of our Islamic thinker that Western civilization characteristic is one of them is dualism, and we can see like your presentation in the concept of beauty, but for Islam, I think it is, of course, yeah, there are some like good and bad, and also there, but we in Islam it's more holistic, yeah, view. There are no extreme position, even though of course there are some people, but there are like a fixed worldview, because we have revelation that can moderate, yeah, between one and two extreme, one extreme to another extreme, and it is not happening in the West. What do you think, sister?
I mean, when I talk about duality, I think maybe about Islam in terms of Quran and
Yeah.
the stronger idea of the presence of Al-Shaitan
Yeah, okay.
inside the world. So there is God, and there is the good, and Al-Shaitan, that is the evil, and the human being is asked to choose whether to stay with God or to stay with Al-Shaitan, to be a man or to be an animal. So these are dichotomic positions. So we live in a world which is the world of duality.
Okay.
And yeah, so another problem of duality that Islam has in this moment, especially, is the idea of differentiating itself from the rest of the world. I mean, in medieval time, there was the distinction between Dar al-Harb, that was the place outside Islam where the enemies stayed.
Yes.
So the word Islam, Dar al-Islam, and Dar al-Harb, another duality. It's very difficult in this moment, in the time of globalization, a time where as a sociologist like Roy says, Islam has transferred itself in the West.
Yes.
We have many Muslims here.
West, yeah.
Yes. So you cannot separate the two realities. You cannot create two blocks and believe that there is Islam and there is the West. That it was trying to say in the start point of this discussion. It's difficult to find this duality. We usually do it because we need to highlight our identity. So when we want to highlight our identity, we have to find an otherness, someone who do not belong to this identity, which is on the other side and in a counterpart. But it's very dangerous.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we agree that there's Muslim have that concept of duality, which is that I think it is an Islamic, because Islam itself is over the holistic view about the world, and it is proved by our civilization that we have a Muslim from West, from the East, and from every part of the world. So probably we can continue, sister. By Sister Ari probably want to ask a question for Sister Paula.
Yes. You were talking about, have you finished with your
Yes, okay.
explanation before, sister, or would you like to
add something?
Maybe I can add something.
Yeah.
May I,
Sure.
maybe I add something. Yeah. Well, I know what you deal with in your organization, so I wanted to tell you this also. This in the West, alongside the search for beauty and disorder of dress, we can also observe an entropic trend in the sphere of relationships, a growing tangle of disorders in gender affiliations, with which vary and flow. Disorder in communication due to addiction to social application. Communications become fast, broken, ungrammatical, impersonal, increasingly standardized and inconsistent, and lacking depth. The new norm is the disobedience to the previous norm. What is different becomes fashionable, It's involved the political opportunistic choice to overvalue minorities to generate the preemption of the difference. But I observe a compulsive need to stand out, to impose one's voice. People think they have to scream louder, to appear as much as possible in frames, in images, stomping their feet, obsessively reiterating their existence. In my opinion, in this need to impose oneself, to come first, to be recognized, sometimes it doesn't work. Something does not work in the right way. That because a profound structural fragility emerges from this need of appearance. And fragility emerges from the obsessive need to be considered cool and beautiful. You were talking about the Korean dance. So the mimesis of these singers.
Yes.
Okay. So what we forgot is that beauty is harmonious only when it reflects a harmonious internal experience. Beauty doesn't need spotlights or stage lights. It's a bearer of light in itself. Probably those who seek light are lacking light or are unable to appreciate the light they possess. Beauty in itself possesses a light that is sufficient for its existence. Its gentle light radiates.
Yes.
Those who need a pedestal, who need to be illuminated by spotlights and possibly to generate darkness around them, to gain prominence, are only flaunting a beauty they do not possess at all. Beautiful is what is enough, what makes you feel good, what generates relief. It does not require comparison, competition, or ostentation. Comparison, competition, and ostentation are not even in its vocabulary. Beautiful is the right measure. It's a caress to truth, or it should be.
Okay, yes. Well, it's very interesting. There are several points that I think is very interesting from what you've explained to us. Well, first of all, it was very interesting to know that the combination of the culture in Italy itself includes those that comes from the Arab world, as you said. So mashallah, so it's probably through the spread of the assimilation of different cultures that happened long ago. However, now we see how the Western concept of beauty itself, as you said, has changed, and you observe that there is an anthropic trend, you said, that originates from the concept of beauty or connected to the concept of beauty, but it grows and touches the sphere of relationship. Yeah, that's what you
Yes,
said before.
exactly.
So from the disorder out of the concept of beauty, it also touches the disorder on, for example, gender affiliations. And that's what I think one of the main concern of CGS, because as you know that there is a lot of gender confusion, especially mostly in the West today, and it has started to touch Eastern countries as well, I believe. So you also said that now what is different becomes fashionable, right? So people are trying to be different, and they want to be they want to stand out. So I think my next question is I want to know, what in your view, how is it different, the concept of beauty in the West? What is the difference between the concept of beauty in the West and the concept of beauty in Islam that you know of?
Yeah, well, sure. As I mentioned, the pleasantness of features and body proportion, the ability in artistic, calligraphic, poetic, or musical performances, as well as the enchainment of natural phenomena and the applause for the good and the just as a mirror of moral and spiritual straightness are all elements that convey the idea of beauty both in Islamic tradition and that in West. So I briefly gave you an idea of the heritage of the West regarding the concept of beauty. Now I can explore briefly the Islamic one in search for a comparison
Yes, sister.
of differences or unexpected similarities. Well, consider the nomadic character of the Arab populations. It should not surprise that poetry soon became their favorite artistic expression. And for pre-Islamic Arab culture, Islamic one inherited the concept of pleasure and beauty in the expressions of poetic composition and recitation, which attributed enormous value to eloquence and form. The Quran itself is compiled in a rhythmic and rhymed prose, which, in addition to be useful for simplifying the memorization of the Holy Message, makes this same message pleasant to the hearer that listens to it. Pleasant both in its content and in its form. It is this same pleasantness what instills the sense of beauty. If we refer specifically to the artistic representation of bodily beauty, the criteria that differentiate Islamic canons from classical Western ones cannot ignore the Islamic prohibition of reproducing human images in the sphere of religion. According to one interpretation that I do not share personally, the iconographic ban arises from philosophical considerations, according to which Islam recognize the fleeting, transitory, and consequently imperfect character of the world and its inhabitants, and identifies a sense of futility in the reproduction of images devoid of the element of permanence and completeness. But much more concretely, as already happens in the Bible, the prohibition of the reproduction of images arises from a divine apprehension, from the fear that through the reproduction of images of God or of his favorite creature, man could end up fueling dangerous, idolatrous impulses and prostrating himself in front of statues or drawings. Furthermore, for Islam, man should not attribute to himself a role of creator that belongs only to Allah. So God is the one who creates, and his creation releases beauty as an emanation of the divine. Since the idea of creation is reserved only to Allah, the artist cannot be considered a creator of beauty. So he can only be considered as a creature who is able to discover it. In Islamic thought, beauty is considered a divine reality. So indeed, the beautiful, Al-Jamil, is one of the divine names attributed to Allah. So a hadith tells that the messenger of God said, indeed, Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. Therefore, the search for beauty is above all a search for a reflection of the divine inside the creation. The idea of a reflection of the divine in the creation recalls expressions of beauty that are present once again in the refined element of order, balance, and respect for cosmic laws. So similarly, to go back to the West, in his 16th century sonnets, the Italian Christian artist Michelangelo Buonarroti explains how that of the sculptor and therefore of the modeler of portraits of the human is intended to be a work of embellishment, which essentially aims at restoring order, that same order which for Islam comes from God as a command, amr, and together as a disposition of harmonious existence. An order that is a prerogative of the cosmos and that man should strive not to alter. Even for Michelangelo, the higher and closer to God the inspiration is, the greater is the beauty that gets released from action. So I guess you can grasp here a similarity between the two elaborations. Do you?
That's true, yeah. As we know that many picture, yeah, of course, you are in the Vatican also. Is the expression of how they love God, yeah, and many of the classical, yeah, Western painting, for example, like you said, Michelangelo, it's you know, it's about divine beauty, and it is the similarity with Islam. I think maybe you can explore more about this, sister.
Yeah, Michelangelo and his sonnets talk about marble as containing another kind of stuff that was spiritual. He used a block of marble and said, when I see a block of marble, I feel the form who's living inside the marble even before touching it. In his opinion, his hand was driven by God, by the intention to get nearer to God's will. So it's not so different. The idea of spirituality also inside the arts and the concept of beauty, also in the West. Anyway, in Islam, for example, this idea of order I was talking about, Said Hossein Nasr explains the meaning of the aforementioned perspective by stating that order is balance, and the maintenance of balance is a necessary condition for the spiritual life of the person and for the functioning of human society, and requires a continuous effort, since the danger of looming in a state of disorder, chaos, and imbalance is always present.
Yes.
So for Islam, the beauty of creation arises from the precision and harmony of proportions, and the idea of harmony recalls that of balance. The omnipresent search for balance and embellishment in Islamic artistic production can be found even in the Kufic calligraphic style used to adorn buildings.
Yeah. Can I add something, sister? Like in Alhambra, you said about mathematics as a beauty, yeah. In Alhambra, if we observe the architecture, there's a balance in mathematics in every corner of the palace. It is representation of the balance mizan, that present the beauty in Islamic. Do you agree with me, sister?
Yes, exactly. The idea of this order, this measurement, mathematical measurement, is very important also in cosmic laws. So not just in artifacts. So I mean, also in the details of the buildings, Islamic buildings, you can see the necessity of this balance. I mean, for example, watching madrasas or mosques around the Islamic world, you can find that seeking balance between empty and full spaces, in filling with the writings, the lower and upper part of the line, at a certain point, calligraphers began to adorn the upper ends of the letters with phytoform traits, folding the lower ends into elegant arches and making their extremities bloom with vegetal shape. And it's in this way that the so-called flower cufix started spreading, and with it, the use of phytoforms, floral, and sometimes zooform motifs, usually birds. If you go to Iran or Uzbekistan, you find many flowers and birds on these madrasas, for example. And all these elements remind to the embellishment of creation, while remaining respectful of the abstention from any reproduction of human images and blasphemous representation of an anthropomorphized divine. So in Islam, the attention to beauty is considered halal, lawful, and its research is not limited to the arts. From a more concrete and practical perspective, the same healthy and balanced care dedicated to the body is halal too, because the beauty of the body is considered a gift to be preserved. An example, it's told that Abu Huraira reported that the messenger of Allah said, "Whoever has long hair, let him honor it." That is, hair care should not be neglected. And although Islam encourages modesty in men and women and discourages the display of external beauty, for Muslims, body care is fundamental due to its hygienic implication, as well as indispensable for the ritual purity required by canonical prayer. In addition to ablutions or baths in case of impurity, Muslims are also required to frequently remove hair from the body, for example. Regarding the visible ornaments, then, the Quran reports that women should hide this ornament or embellishment, because such a display could cause disobedience to God and induce to fornication or zina. You can find it in the Surah of the Light, the 24th. Elsewhere in the Quran, in Medina's verses, emerges this idea that artificial or natural embellishment can prove to be a temptation to evil, or at least a deception for eyes and heart. However, in the Meccan verses, embellishment is described as a fruit of wisdom and mercy. So human beings' natural and artificial beauty can therefore be considered vicious and perverse, as well as virtuous and good. For Islam, Muslims are asked to stand out for beauty is Jamal, when this beauty expresses goodness and perceive the beauty of creation, which is good par excellence. And in Arabic language, the expression Jamal includes both physical and moral connotations. The same verb, jamula, itself recalls the pleasantness of physical characters and behavioral traits. Beautiful is therefore what fits, what is well made, adequate, and good. And to return to a very concrete example of the valorization of beauty in the contemporary world, the search for a match between moral beauty and the beauty of aesthetic traits can be also found in much less holy contexts. It's observable, for example, among the evaluation criteria declared by female beauty competitions, such as the World Muslima Award, which aims to be
Yes.
a reward together women's physical beauty, intellectual abilities, and religious piety. And I'm quoting a competition that you should know, since it was inaugurated right here in Jakarta in
Yeah.
2011.
Yeah, of course, you notice it also, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But I think I don't know. Yeah, if today after COVID, they arrange the same competition or not. Maybe Sister Ari can update us.
I'm not updated. I'm not aware actually.
We don't know, yeah. But Sister Paula, because anthropologist and
As I told before, I don't like competition. As I told before, beauty does not require competition.
it is light. Yeah, the beauty itself is light. So don't need be
Exactly.
and I agree 100% with you.
Thank you. Terima kasih.
Yeah, terima kasih, Sister. Do you want to add something, Sister Paula, before I proceed to another question? And then this is the long one, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay,
Please.
yes, because you also presented the spiritual perspective of tasawuf. I just want to ask you about the soul, yeah. What is your view about the beauty of the soul? Yeah, even though I know you already mentioned it in your explanation, and it probably this is the second one, yeah. What is its relationship to the body? Because there's a dualism, dualistic.
Yeah,
Body
exactly.
and soul. So, what is it? And what is the concept of spiritually of the West? Yeah, because as you know, there are some traditional. I mean the philosophical tradition that separate from a body from the soul, and also now feminism is focused on the body, neglecting the soul. And can you explain your view, Sister, about this matter?
Sure. I will tell you my opinion, but you have to consider that I have grown up in a Western milieu. So my opinion was born from my experience. So we think that the body is considered the temple of the soul, and it's the place that houses the soul for the time a human being is allowed to live in this physical dimension. The body is the garment worn over the course of a season. It's a dress that breaks, that tears, that wears out. But it is useful to move into the human dimension and gain experience. So the heaviness, the very finitude of the body allows us the experience. The French philosopher Emmanuel Monnier wrote that however abundant and penetrating the light that the human spirit can insinuate into the most subtle articulation of the universe, materiality exists with an irreducible existence. The individual cannot think without being, nor be without the body, which is the omnipresent mediator of the life of the spirit. In fact, through the body, man is exposed to the world, and it is through its aging that is giving the opportunity to understand the concept of time. This was a beautiful idea, I guess, of this philosopher in a book called Depersonalism, if you're interested. So if it's true that a body is informed by the spirit, it's equally true that the soul learns from the experience of the body. The experience of the body is a limiting experience for many reasons, but neglecting the body would be equivalent to treating badly a valuable book in which the secrets of human growth are written. It would be like using that unique and precious book to study a wobbly table, or throwing its pages into the fire because we are too lazy to leave our house and reach a place where we could collect the needed wood. So therefore, in my opinion, the relationship between body and soul is that of mutual information. Certainly, one cannot expect that a beautiful body or a well-dressed one contains a beautiful soul, and that a sick or deformed body contains a perverted spirit. Well, a deformed body can cause painful ordeal that leads the soul to refine itself, the spirit to rise, and one awareness to become clearer. But it can also happen that an ugly and deformed body brings just anger and isolation to those who are forced to wear it. So it depends on the meaning and function we attribute to life and to the trials we go through. Certainly, in all creatures, the body loses beauty, strength, and tone as the year passes. So we have two questions. We have two questions to ask ourselves. What talents have we been able to develop over the course of our life? And through the dignity that these talents provide us, are we able to compensate for the loss of beauty of the body and the loss of clarity of the mind that the aging process necessarily alters? So, what do you think about these two questions? Then I will say something else, but I want to know your opinion.
I think it's a question that we all must answer to ourselves. And from time to time, we should revisit those questions to motivate ourselves. And I think from those two questions also, we can see that the emphasis on the soul, even though you said that the relationship between the body and the soul is mutual, but the two questions that you just asked, I think, indicate that actually we should pay even more attention to our soul, because later on, that's what our life would be measured upon, how meaningful our life would be measured upon is probably will be based on how we pay attention to our souls. So moving on from that, I think if I may ask you another question.
May I, Ariza, sorry, may I just say something about spirituality?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
because
yes, please.
yeah,
Just sorry, because I
Paula
was just
has an answer.
yeah.
adding something to what you just said. Sorry, I think it's very important.
Please do.
Yes, you just said that at the end, we also give lots of attention to spirituality. Also from this, not just from these questions, but from the old discourse starting from philosophy to passing through religion, passing through elaborations of Western cultures. The idea of spirituality, maybe it's not called spirituality, it's called with other terms, but it means something very different from the idea of materialism, of concreteness that you are trying to avoid. So there is something I would say, because there is another issue that is worth considering. If we talk about spirituality in relation to the body, Islam finds itself in a difficult position, having to separate spirituality from religion and law. For Islam, spirituality is educated through religion. Religion becomes a useful tool to direct human beings toward the development of their own spirituality. The precepts of religion are points of reference along the way to the refinement of one's own soul, or to be more precise, of one's own nafs. So in the West, the issue of spirituality is much more complex, probably. Christianity nowadays has lost its secular importance, and the spiritual search has developed through other more personal and individual paths. So it has not diminished, it has only transformed. In fact, paradoxically, it has become more honest. I mean, the will and desire to dedicate oneself to a spiritual path have replaced the once perceived obligation to the dictates of the institution of Roman Church in case of Catholicism. There is no longer a sense of constraint linked to the fear for punishment or for the possible exclusion from the church. Many people feel the need to seek personal growth through a deep inner gaze, and many research paths are looming on the horizon, no longer linked to religion, but rather linked to knowledge, study, and above all, the listening to others and other experiences, and listening to oneself and one's connection to higher spiritual dimensions. So just to summarize.
Yes, I see. So what you're saying is nowadays or in recent times, the Western cultures aspect of spirituality is more a personal one and is not connected to religion, and rather they would seek their own personal journey. Maybe, but mostly you said that mostly they would seek it through knowledge and through experience of others or themselves, right? So it is probably something that is quite different to what the Islamic world, right? Where I think mostly most people that is Muslim especially by heritage, they would still follow the spirituality part connected and attached to the religion of Islam. I think that's why, yeah. So perhaps Sister Dina, you want to add something? Maybe regarding the knowledge as a religion is also interesting, yeah, because in a way, if you said that when they're trying to find a spiritual connections through knowledge, that means in a way it's sort of like making knowledge as a replacement for religion. Maybe we could it be said in that way?
I think that religion is an instrument, a tool, a leading tool to help men finding their relationship with their soul. It's like, it's like when you walk down a road, you find many milestones, and you are helping your direction. Religion helps to follow one direction. Okay. Religion is just, it's an instrument. I mean, we have many religions in our words. I know maybe for Islam it's a bit different, but in the West, we really respect other religions as different instruments to go in the same direction, to the same goal down there. Just we use different tools. Right. We Arabs got the message. The Prophet received the message in Arab, in Arabic language. But you mean in other parts of the world, other kinds of spiritual experiences have always happened, and I mean everyone has found just another way to express the same desire of refinement, of growth, of elevation from the condition of animal to the condition of real human being. So this is not a question of religion. This is a question of a need of the human being, a need of evolution, which is first of all spiritual.
Yes,
so I think it's interesting, to see the perspective of
Western
of the Western view on spirituality that you just explained.
Sister Alessa, maybe I will add something. I noticed that because my dissertation is about spirituality, my PhD is about perennialism. So I noticed there's some in the West, that in the classic West, that we know that this Christian word, and then that after the Renaissance and also awakening, they interact with another beliefs and religion beside Christianity, and in Islam, because we already become a civilization that respect others religions, like Jewish and also others beliefs, but we see that the difference between perennialism and us, we believe that even though we respect them, we know that for Muslim, yeah, Islam is the truth. In Peronism, we cannot, we cannot claim a truth claim. We cannot make a truth claim that other religion is better than another one. Probably this is the difference. But
Yeah.
what might be interesting, because you are Italian, is it also happen in, Roman? I mean, Rome, the place that Catholicism and probably most religious.
Yeah, the Vatican. The Vatican
Vatican,
State.
yeah. Because long time ago, I have a roommate, yeah, from Italian, and she's very devout Catholics, yeah, and more. I cannot believe it is 20 years ago, so I cannot believe it's now changed. As your explanation, the superiority that based on the religion of Christian, or this is Catholic, and now become, they have to, they want to have other instrument rather than apart from religion. It's really interesting. We can talk hours
Very
about
long.
it.
Yes, there would be, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I just read one sentence. Unfortunately, the problems arise when religion is accompanied by political
Yes.
politics, and it always happens. Yeah, and as you can understand, also other religions think that they have the truth.
Yes. Of
Yes.
course.
Okay.
Yes.
Also for the Vatican, the truth is
Is
in
that-
Christian religion.
Mm.
But we understand the similarities between monotheisms.
Yes. Yeah.
Similarities.
Yes. Yes.
There are many differences, okay, but we understand that there are some similarities,
Yes.
and we should work on the similarities,
Yeah,
I think.
I agree with you, because there are so many. I also, according to, we have like, we are concerned in family issues, and we agree with some family movement. Yeah, I mean, people in the West that is Christian, that fight for the concept of natural family and something like that. We also support them. I think we have to have a cooperation, better cooperation, yeah, regarding some issues, and respect each other, yeah, even though we believe that, of course, as a person, individual, we believe in our own, our truth, yeah, in religion. Because if we don't believe in that this is the best for us, and this is we cannot, become the I mean, we don't have a faith, yeah, to our religion. It is the last question, sister.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to know your opinion. How can women be more respectful of themselves without being trapped by the materialist, or the materialist view, and also the feminist group that's, that in Islam, yeah, or probably you also in West have a very profound concept that the internal beauty, yeah, it is the most important things. Can you, I think, explain your opinion, sister, about this?
So could you please ask the question again?
Yeah. How can women be more respectful to of themselves without being trapped by the materialist view on and the materialist view of the feminist groups?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Well, I give you my opinion.
Yes.
Well, women, in my opinion, would be more respectful of themselves if they did not give in to vanity or the dependent need to attract the attention of men, to be accepted and desired. So women should commit to following their own path of personal growth, to strengthen themselves as individuals and as spiritual entities, to become autonomous in their ability to think, to find solutions to problems, and contribute to social sciences as a better social living. I often suggest paying attention to the paradigmatic strength and wisdom expressed by the character and behavior of Prophet Muhammad's wives and his clear appreciation for these traits. So, to respect themselves, women should manage to enhance their talents. They should study and deepen their paths to knowledge. It is not just the opinion of a Western scholar. This is also one of the teaching of Habib Segaf Baharoun, who leads the Pondok Pesantren, which hosted my research in Java Timur.
Yes.
And it's precisely this effort that could lead women to express their respect to their father, to their husband, to their children, and above all, to themselves.
Yes.
So it would mean enjoying an esteem that comes from a renewed self-esteem. And meanwhile, it would mean intelligently escaping that impoverishing, mortifying, and immobilizing condition of dependence to which ignorance condemns humanity, the whole humanity, not just women. So the whole Islamic community, in my opinion, has the ethical task of supporting women in realizing their talents and ambitions for knowledge and for cognitive, professional, and spiritual growth. As you can easily observe, the values I'm referring to have very little to do with the sordid materialistic vision of reality. And I'm a Western researcher. So given the strong Quranic incentive to follow one's individual path of growing knowledge, well represented by the concept of al-jihad al-ilm,
Yes.
in my opinion, it would be unjustified for a Muslim not to consider this perspective.
Yes. I really agree with you, Mrs. You know, I have a article, but it is in Indonesian. Yet, I said that to become a virtuous woman, first you have to, not first, the most important, you have to do the jihad il. Yeah, you have to devote yourself in seeking knowledge, because this is the only way. Our scholars said that you cannot. There's two things that people always hungry about it. One is dunya, and the other one is knowledge. So which one that you choose? Yeah. That's why it's the same with men, that knowledge, yeah, if you are seeking knowledge, it is in and follow the spiritual path, of course, through Islam as a Muslim, yeah. It will lead you the ultimate happiness that probably it is the same for woman and man. Yeah. I cannot more agree. I agree 100% with you, Sister Paula. Probably Sister
Thank you.
Arisa wants to add something.
Yes, I think it was a very good message and wrap up sentence, probably we could say,
Yes.
because that was the last question. That was a very nice sentence to end. I think should motivate us all to seek knowledge forever. Like as long as we live, we should be on the path of seeking knowledge. And I think this talk also with the discussion, with our discussion in it, hopefully could bring some of those knowledge, could enlighten us. Probably the viewer will see some aspects that we agree on, some aspects that we have differences, but I think all of those are knowledge that we can digest, and we can choose, or we can digest it, and we can use it to our own personal growth. So I think that is probably all from me. And once again, I thank Sister Paula for her time and for her effort for this podcast.
And also, I think this talk will enhance our knowledge about the relation between West and Islam, and also, I mean, as me and Sister Arisa who lives in Muslim world, or East, in the East, and you are grown up in Western world, and we cannot dichotomize, as you said, that we are human, and also we need to hear other perspective, about life, about everything. And this is, as Sister Ari said, it can contribute to our personal development. And thank you, Sister Paula. But I think I will invite you again. I am really curious about your expertise in transmission of knowledge in Islamic world, especially probably in Jawa Timur and also other region. But I think I will schedule it if you are okay.
Thank you very
Because
much.
it is really important. And also, if we can add how women participate in this transmission, it is very important issue that we need to explore.
I
Again,
just say one thing just to make you curious. But in the experience I had inside Pondok Pesantren in Indonesia, I could witness then the role of women and the way of studying the topics, everything was equal in the male part of the Pondok Pesantren and in the female part. Obviously, they are boarding schools, so they are separated because people live there, students live there. But the agenda, the schedule of the lessons, everything is the same. Yes. They just don't have the Friday prayer. Women just don't have Friday prayers. But for the rest, what is different, it's just clothes.
Yes.
But the knowledge is the same, and teachers are women, so
yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you once again, Sister
thank you.
Paula. See you
Thank you.
in next episode, and Sister Arisa for accompanying me today. And for the viewers, inshallah we will meet again in our podcast, Deep Talk for the Soul. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.